Hey everyone, well I thought I'd take more of a break between director's series, but that's not going to be the case this time. I've pushed up everything on my Robert Zemeckis director's series by about a week because I'm going to be seeing his latest film, Flight, a week early at the Chicago International Film Festival. So I will have an advance review for you about 1 week before it actually comes out, the first weekend in November. So I need to get started on this. He's got a bunch of movies, a higher quantity than most of the guys that I've done, except for maybe Soderbergh. Soderbergh's probably done about as many films as him, if not more. So I'm going to start off with his first two movies, I Want to Hold Your Hand and Used Cars. I just want to sort of run down the schedule for you. If you are planning on watching any of these movies in advance and doing video responses or comments, anything like that, I would encourage you to do so. Of course, today, his first two movies, which are sort of madcap comedies. After that, on the 28th of September, I'll be doing Romancing the Stone with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. On October 1st, Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox. On October 4th, Who Framed Roger Rabbit with Bob Hoskins, of course, the live-action animated movie. On October 7th, Back to the Future is both 2 and 3. On October 10th, Death Becomes Her with Meryl Streep, Bruce Willis, and Goldie Hawn. On October 13th, Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks. I'm sure you're all familiar with that movie. October 16th will be Contact with Jodie Foster. October 19th, What Lies Beneath with Harrison Ford, Michelle Pfeiffer. October 21st, Castaway, again with Tom Hanks. On the 24th of October, I'm going to be doing a video on all three of his performance capture movies, The Polar Express, Beowulf, and A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. And finally, the day after I see it on the Chicago Film Festival will be the 26th, Friday the 26th, which is going to be when I'll be talking about Flight. I'm talking about getting to see the man Bobby Z in person, and hopefully I'll ask him a couple of questions and he'll answer them. Robert Zemeckis is from Chicago, like me, and like me, he was also a protege of Steven Spielberg. I'm just kidding. I was never a protege of Steven Spielberg. I'm just his uncle. So his first couple of movies were executive produced by Spielberg, and he co-wrote. Bobby Z co-wrote these scripts with Bob Gale, whom is he was a guy he worked with on a few television series, and he went on to co-write a number of other films as well. They're both what I would call madcap comedies, very, very high energy, kind of silly, extremely silly in some cases. I Want to Hold Your Hand is a film that takes place around the time that the Beatles were playing the Ed Sullivan Show in New York City. And there was this incredible hysteria, you know, half the movie is basically just girls running around screaming at how awesome the Beatles are and how much they're in love with John Lennon and Paul McCartney and whoever else. Some of the main characters are played by Nancy Allen, who is known for being in a couple of Brian De Palma movies, and of course she played RoboCop's partner in the three movies that, you know, the three RoboCop movies. She's a character. They're all teenagers basically. They're all in school. She's planning on getting married to Eddie, who's an older kid. She's got second thoughts about that. She's really sort of worried about what she thinks of her behavior, and the fact that if she goes nuts over Beatles, that he's not going to take her seriously, not going to want to marry her anymore. But she and about three of her girlfriends and a couple of guys, they all pile into this limousine that's borrowed from one of their father's funeral homes, and make their way to New York City because they're going to try and sneak into the hotel. Another one of the girls is an amateur photographer who's trying to get a shot of the Beatles that she can sell to a major publication. Then you've got another girl who's played by Wendy Jo Sperber, who's just plain in love with Paul, just loves Paul more than life itself, and really wants to see him, meet him, anything at all. And then there's the fourth girl in the batch is someone who really doesn't like Beatles music all that much. She likes the activist music of the earlier era, and she was trying to get everyone to knock some sense in everyone else. In the meantime, you got a couple of guys. One sort of a greaser type who also doesn't like Beatles all that much. He prefers, Sinatra, that kind of thing, the sort of more old school performers. And then you've got the kid who borrowed the limousine from his dad's funeral home. He's played by Marc McClure, who is probably best known for playing Jimmy Olsen in the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. He's Marc McClure, actually, and Wendy Jo Sperber not only were in this movie, and also have cameos in the next movie that Zemeckis directed, Used Cars, but they also played the brother and sister of Michael J. Fox in the Back to the Future movies. So, yeah, those are some nice little casting carryovers there. So, yeah, like I said, it's a madcap comedy. It's just crazy. Everyone's running around at top speed, trying to figure out ways to sneak into the hotel, trying to figure out ways to sneak in and see the Beatles in the theater, the Ed Sullivan Theater, and it's just crazy. You know, it's just a lot of craziness from beginning to end. You know what I'm talking about. Now, that's a relatively wholesome movie. His next movie, Used Cars, is not nearly as wholesome. As a matter of fact, this is a movie which celebrates bad behavior, and it's a riot. It's just a riot. Kurt Russell's the main character. He plays a guy who's like the lead salesman on this really crappy used car lot. The owner is an older gentleman whose twin brother has his own used car dealership right across the street, and so they're in constant competition with each other. Now, this is a very, very, very convoluted plot, but it works beautifully. It's really great. There's this highway that's going to be built, and the one brother, the adversarial brother, the one from the other car lot, is trying to get a hold of his brother's car lot because he knows that the ramp is going to mean that his property is going to be demolished. They're going to rezone his property for building, you know, a ramp onto the freeway, and he's going to be put out of business. So he's trying everything that he can to get his brother's car lot, including causing his death, basically, from heart failure. There's when Kurt Russell and the other sales guys on the lot discover what's happened, and that what the plan is, they decide to pretend that their boss is out of town, and then stage a series of prank commercials in order to get more people onto the lot and buying their incredibly crappy used cars. I mean, these cars are in terrible, terrible shape. But Kurt Russell is just such a fast talker, and man, he doesn't give a customer a single minute to object. He just throws them into the car, gets them to sign the paperwork, talks a mile a minute, sends them on their way, even though the bumpers and doors and windshield are falling off. You know, he just, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. There's also a really great actor named Gerrit Graham, who I've seen in a few other films, but not as much lately. He plays the sort of second command, the secondary salesman to Kurt Russell's captain, and he's got this incredible phobia, and he's always having to, you know, take a hold of his Lucky Charms, you know, his Lucky Rabbit's foot, and he's constantly avoiding behavior which he thinks is bad luck. And then after a little while, the daughter of the car lot shows up, hoping to reconcile with her father because she hasn't spoken to him in like 10 years, and Kurt Russell sees the opportunity not only to put one over on her, but possibly get some extra cash because he wants to run for state senate. And his motives for running for state senate are not altruistic at all. He just wants to make a name for himself, and he wants to get lots of money. He's interested in the kind of payoffs and graft that politicians get. No one has very wholesome motives in this movie. Everyone is just out for themselves, and like I said, it's a celebration of bad behavior, and it's a very, very, very funny movie. And it's one of those movies that just everything sort of comes together really nicely. All the different plot threads come together in the end, and it's got one of those perfect endings that I just love. I really, really like this movie a lot. It's very disreputable, but lots and lots of fun. So those are the first two. And the next one will be, of course, on Romancing the Stone, which is his first big hit. And so I guess I'll see you then in a few days. So thanks very much for watching, and welcome to the Robert Zemeckis series. I hope you like it. Take it easy.